On April 19th, Chesapeake Energy handed Galton Borough Water Authority a $150,000 check to repair the rural north-central Pennsylvania town's public water filtration system. Erosion caused by Chesapeake's development activities filled the borough's water intake system with sediment. It's Chesapeake's first well in the hilly forested county. Chesapeake apologized, claimed full responsibility, and told Galton Water Authority that the company wasn't prepared for the local topography and weather. Their Marcellus Shale natural gas drilling well site sits above the exceptional value watershed that provides Galton's public drinking water. 11 hours after giving Galton the check, a Chesapeake Marcellus well site 2 hours east had so much flowback from hydraulic fracturing that the toxic fluids could not be contained, spilling over into a tributary of the Susquehanna River and leading to the evacuation of 7 families. The well leaked fluids and then natural gas for over 2 days before Chesapeake gained control. Attorney Todd O'Malley held a press conference at Chesapeake's office in Towanda, Pennsylvania, 2 days after the leak nearby in Leroy Township. O'Malley called for a moratorium on further hydraulic fracturing until studies are complete regarding the leaks, explosions, underground water contamination, and environmental impacts of current natural gas extraction practices used by companies like Chesapeake.
Number one, I want to thank all of you for being here, but particularly I want to thank those of you that are here that are what I refer to as the faces of fracking. People whose lives have been devastated.
Monday, April 11th, I received the phone call from Benchmark Analytics. They said, in not so many words, stop drinking your water. And I said, well, what do you mean? I've been sick for 3 weeks.
People whose blood has been poisoned by barium. People whose wells have rendered their property to be valueless for all intents and purposes.
My hair started to fall, and then the week after that, my heart started to race, and I was short of breath. My husband would hear me breathing late at night. I stuttered. It took me a long time to get my words out. My hands would tremor when I would hold a piece of paper. When I would go to stand from a sitting position, my knees would knock, and I would, go down a bit. So ever since then, it's just kind of spiraled. I've had to have my son's blood tested for lead because blood is the most detrimental to children. He's 4 years old. So we're waiting for his blood results to come back right now. My blood results came in yesterday. My barium levels were at 110. The normal is 0, but 0 or less than 10 they should be. I guess 110 is unheard of. A friend of mine who's an RN has looked over some case studies of people with barium toxicity, and the highest she could find was a man who tried to commit suicide with the levels of 74. And they said he was on respirators and things like that in the hospital. So she's just amazed that I'm alive.
Safety has to be first. Profits have to take a second place.
1,500 feet behind my property, there's a well. It's a chief well. Chief has been horrible to deal with. I've gotten one phone call from them, and then they did send a geologist out 5 days ago to test my water. But I haven't heard a thing. I haven't had an offer of a water buffalo for my home. I do have one now, but only because my dad's best friend delivers these to people. So my dad called and got it delivered for me because I just would not live in the house anymore with water in the house. I wasn't going to bathe my son in it. I wasn't going to have it anywhere near me,
2 days ago, when we learned of the spill in Leroy Township, I learned from a client that there were a number of people in that area who've been adversely affected.
My house is what it was known as first. My cousin Tracy lives in Leroy, where the gas spill just was. Her house has been affected with it now. I don't know if you spoke with her, but she had a glass of water actually eat away at her countertop. Yeah, so this happened, hers happened about 2 weeks after I found out my well was tainted.
It was shown a countertop, Formica countertop, that was white and pitted as if someone had spilled hydrochloric acid on it. What was spilled on it was the water that came out of their tap. Government is here to protect our government in Pennsylvania is doing its job. Our governor needs to be encouraged to listen and to see and to meet the faces of fracking. 72 or 35 minutes for a permit isn't nearly enough to determine the impact that permit's going to have on the lives of people. Put a moratorium until a complete safety study is done. And then step back and let's explore for natural gas if we need to do it in a responsible way. I'm going to ask all of you, everybody here whose wells have been contaminated, fill a water bottle. We're going to supply them with it. And we're going to start delivering those water bottles to your state representatives and to your state senators as reminders of what you live with every day. And we're going to deliver them in Harrisburg, and we're going to deliver them if we need to in Washington.
Can you just state your name and who you are, where you live?
Diane Sigmund, living in Towanda. I'm a psychologist, but I'm also an environmental kind of advocate for keeping people well as best I can.
How long's drilling been going on around here?
What we've noticed is only in the last 2.5 years. I don't know how much it was quietly going on. Vertical wells were here before that, but this new stuff is not like the old stuff. Slickwater fracking is not the 90-year-old history of drilling in Pennsylvania. And it also is a whole new burden in terms of water contamination, which has not been widely recognized. In fact, a lot out in the media based on what they were being told is that there's no documented case of contamination. We have a lot of cases of contamination in Bradford County. The Department of Environmental Protection doesn't have authority to step in and help single family kind of, it has to be in numbers, of my understanding, of 25 or more as far as their jurisdiction. So they become a non-resource for us. So it then begs the problem of who do I turn to? So I'm having families that have no idea who to turn to fix things, to even understand what's gone wrong with their lives. Houses worth almost nothing, can't move. How can you sell a house that doesn't have water? You can't.
Have you personally been affected, or are you more of an advocate?
I live in town, so right now the only danger to me is if they contaminate the wells that are south of here in Ladsburg. I understand that there's high levels of barium that comes out of this drilling, and you mix that with chlorination like municipal water systems do, and you end up with, I think it's something called trihalomethanes, which is bad. Carcinogenic and mutagenic, both bad. We need to really slow down. This hurry, hurry, hurry up. The gas isn't going anywhere. And then I would think both industry and people would want it to be right. This is awful publicity for the industry, and it's a tragedy. It's a personal tragedy for the individuals that are suffering. It's a public health, to me, catastrophe for those of us who are standing by watching our neighbors, our friends suffer through this. And it's really a blight on the community, quite frankly, the way it's been going. I think there is an outrage going on in Harrisburg where those people down there can't possibly understand what's going on in Bradford County. How in the world can Tom Corbett say he wants to turn Pennsylvania into Texas? And I've got a message for Tom Corbett. That message is, we're Pennsylvania, we're not Texas. We don't need to be Texas.
I'm Joe Shavinsky. I'm here from Bradford County, Pennsylvania, live in Terry Township. The most disturbing thing is the contamination of private water wells. Mine isn't contaminated, but I'm surrounded by neighbors who have contaminated water wells. And there are some instances of people reporting severe health issues drinking water that they didn't know was contaminated. It can come in lots of varieties. You know, I've seen white water, clear water, black water, brown water, tan water, and even purple water from contamination due to drilling.
So it's been determined by who that this is actually the drilling that's contaminating the water?
Well, it hasn't been determined, and Chesapeake keeps denying it. So when you say determined, it's sort of a catch-22. But when you see a series of homes, new homes, people had nothing to gain by wanting to say their water became contaminated. All of a sudden it turns brown after they've lived in these new homes for 5 years. It's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that drilling contaminates the water.
What's your blue ribbon for?
It's for water, believe in water. We can't do without water. Water's so important. You don't believe how important it is, you know, try going without it for a day or two, or having to boil your water like a lot of families I know have to. Even the replacement water they're getting, they're not used to having chlorinated water shipped to them instead of the pristine spring waters and well waters that we have. Every time there's a well, every week I'm hearing new communities having more contaminated wells. You know, we're probably somewhere between 70 and 100 contaminated wells in this county alone. That's a lot of fallout from the amount of wells that have been drilled. They seem to work hand in hand with politics, and somewhere along the line that I wish they all develop a conscience and see what they're doing. Stop and see what they're actually doing to the people.
Thank you.
Well, Carol can tell you about it.
Yeah, I'm going to go.